Alright guys, today I want to start off with John Denver, Country Roads, capoed on fret 2. Basically, we're trying to get you to understand today root note, alternating your root note from string 6 to 5 to 6 to 5 for G. And the count would be 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And you can slow that down to whatever speed you need to work with all your chord changes. It could be 1 E and a 2 E and a 4 E and a. If you don't know all these chords I'm talking about, please visit tjseasyguitar.com. We've got all kinds of chord progressions on there, learning how to change chords really easy. We have good simplified methods for teaching your fingers and your hands to work together instead of trying to just strum your way and try to make through chords without any kind of idea on how to get your dexterity working. I do have a video on my YouTube channel, beginner lesson. Check it out. It does show you the idea of what I teach you on how to make your changes. And please subscribe and yeah, support my channel. That would be awesome. So for Country Roads today, starting with a capo on fret 2, that way if you want to play it to the version on YouTube, it'll sound in tune with the song. We're starting off here with G, and we're going to pick for the intro 2 times of the G, going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So that's 1 time, and then we do it again, 1 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Now we start the verse with a G, doing the same thing. What we want to do is try to keep our transition smooth. So while I'm teaching it, I'm stopping and talking, but I'll go through the verse once, counting and just playing it all the way through just the verse, where it's, I'll count myself in, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a. Now E minor, 1 E and a 2, still 6 and 5 with my pick, and then down up. Now D, an E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a C and a 2 E and a G and a 4 E and a G, a 2 E and a 1 and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1, 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and a. So that's basically the verse, and the song goes intro, verse, and then chorus. So the chorus is, you have to watch on the verse though, we got 4 bars of 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a, which is how we're counting to know our timeline on each chord, how long we need to be on each chord. So we got 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, then change, 2 E and a 3 and then another change, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4. This is the tricky part here, where we're going to get the C for 1 E and a 2 E and a. Notice how I'm lifting my finger up and alternating my pick to the 6th string. But the C on the very first line of the verse only gets 1 E and a 2 E and a. So 1 E and a 2 E and a. And then G is 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then we start G again for just a 2 count. 1 E and a 2 E and a. Then we start the next line. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. So I'll play it fast now that you kind of got the idea through the whole verse, where it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a C and a 2 E and a G and a 4 E and a G and a 2 E and a G and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a C and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So that's basically the verses. Chorus, much the same, except we don't have this 1 bar where we only count 1 E and a 2 E and then we start again on G, going 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. So that's where you could get pretty messed up with this song trying to play to the track on YouTube. So the chorus is a lot the same as the verse. It's G, D, E minor, C, G, D, C, G. So same count, and we get to do the full count on every one of those chords. So always alternating our root note for G, picking string 6, then 5 whenever we're on a G. Same for E minor, we're playing 6 and 5. D we kind of change to 4 and 5, and we only try to strum the bottom 4 strings. C, we want to try to get our finger to come up to string 6. So we get this 5, down, up, 6, down, up, 5, down, up, 6, down, up, and then we wind up back to G. So that gives you the idea of where this pick should be picking as we're working on these rhythms. So the chorus, I'll count through it and play through it one time, and I'll say the names of the chords while I do it. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and going to D. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and going to E minor. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and going to C. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 going to G. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E going to D. 2 E and a 3 and going to C. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a G and a 2. So that's the chorus. Now reverse again. G and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E minor. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a D and a 2 and a 4 and a C and a 2 and a G and a 4 and a G and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a E and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a D and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a C and a 2 and a now I'm going to do that verse over again just because I missed that 2 count on the first line. So we'll do it again, and I'm going to make sure you guys really hear this. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a D, 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a C and a 2 E and a G and a 4 E and a G and a 2 E and a G and a 2 E and a 4 E and a E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a D, 2, 3, 4 and a C and a 2 and a G and a 4. Chorus. G, 2 and a 3 and a 4 E and a D, 2 and a 3 and a going to E minor. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and going to C. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a back to G. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a D, 2, 3, 4 E and a C, 2 and a 3. Now we're ending on our G. 1 E and a 2 E going to E minor for a bridge. We got 1 E and a 2 E and a D and a 4 E and a G and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a C and a 2 E and a G and a 4 E and a D and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 E, E minor. 1 E and a 2 E and a F and a 4 E and a C and a 2 E and a G and a 4 E and a D, 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a D and a 2 and a 3. Back to chorus for 2 times. So then he goes back to the chorus. G, D, E minor, C, G, D, C, G, doing that same strum 2 times on the chorus, and then it just ends going to this G. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E, 3, and then does it again. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a G and a 2 E and a 3. So I hope that helps you guys get through Country Roads. Watch that last bar on the verse. G, E minor, D, C, G. This G here at the very end, don't forget it gets 2 counts and then starts on a G again for 4 counts. All right, guys, I hope that helps you get through Country Roads. Again, please subscribe, support my channel, and check out tjseasyguitar.com to get nice, quick changes and teach your hand how to work quickly and efficiently instead of spending years trying to pound away and get through these chords. I'm still building the site, so just keep an eye open for it. When I'm doing my YouTube channel videos, I'll let you know when it's up and built, and that will be really helpful for you guys to work on dexterity and making your fingers be able to make these changes. All right, have a great day, and we'll talk to you very shortly. Bye for now.